A reflection for the 16th Sunday after Pentecost. Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever. From the Holy Gospel according to St. Luke. When you are invited to a wedding feast, do not recline in the first place, lest perhaps one more distinguished than you have been invited by him. And he who invited you and him come and say to you, "Make room for this man." And then you begin with shame to take the last place. But when you are invited, go and recline in the last place, that when he who invited you come in, he may say to you, "Friend, go up higher." Then you will be honored in the presence of all who are at table with you. For everyone who exalts himself shall be humbled, and he who humbles himself shall be exalted. This is a very topical gospel. On Monday, President Biden was placed towards the rear of the dignitaries in one of the transepts at the funeral of Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth. Was it an insult? Well, there was a reason: royal protocol. It wasn't a political event, and the royal family, royalty from other countries, governor-generals from realms where the British sovereign is head of state, with elected Commonwealth leaders, all took precedence. That meant, for example, that Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada was seated ahead of President Biden. The media were very interested. I'm not at all sure that President Biden was bothered. But we can see that even today, where you sit seems to matter. The difference from today's parable is that seats in the abbey were allocated to everyone according to who they were. Nobody chose their seats. Ex-President Trump thought that he would if it had been him, but it wasn't. Today, we think we can choose who we are. To some extent, that is true, perhaps more true than in the past. I may choose my career within limits perhaps of my abilities, and perhaps also of my life choices and chances. I may choose my spouse. I may choose to work hard. I may choose to give my money to the poor. I may choose to practice my faith or not. And indeed, I may choose my faith. But we have gone beyond this. Some people want to choose their gender. Some want to choose to receive Holy Communion, even though they are in a state of sin. Some want to choose which doctrines of the Church they will accept. Well, strangely, all seem to want to choose to go to heaven and not hell. Her Majesty, the late Queen Elizabeth, didn't choose to be queen. It was thrust on her at a young age. She bravely accepted God's will for her life and promised to serve her people all her life. She knew it was going to be onerous. Whether or not she realized just how onerous is a matter of speculation. But she did it humbly. She announced all the plans for her 15 prime ministers, well, 14 because Miss Truss certainly didn't have the opportunity for the opening of Parliament with Her Majesty. But if she didn't like those plans, she couldn't change them. The Queen didn't have that sort of power. But what she could do, she did. And she set an example. She was given the best place at the table. She didn't fight for it. But more importantly, she remembered that everything is a gift of God. The committal service at St. George's Chapel in Windsor ended with a very significant action. I'm sure it's been pointed out to you. The imperial state crown, the orb, and the scepter were taken from the Queen's coffin, the symbols of earthly power and glory, and they were laid on the altar. We acknowledge that it is God who gives us everything, and at the end of our lives, we must give him back everything. Oh, our choices matter. They decide our destination in heaven or hell. Let us make those choices our priority and leave the rest to He who gives and takes back. Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever.